Simplify I to the 83rd power. Now the only thing we're going to use to do this problem is the fact that I squared is equal to negative 1. And whenever we have I squared, we're going to replace it. We're also going to use the fact that negative 1 to an even power equals positive 1, and negative 1 to an odd power equals negative 1. Okay, so this problem has I to the 83rd power. 83 is an odd number. So we'll start out by noting that what we want is I to an even number, so we can rewrite it as I squared to some power. So the first thing we're going to have to do, since we don't have I to the even power, we're going to have to change I to the 83rd, and we're going to do that by factoring out I to the first power. So I to the 83rd power is equal to I to the 82nd power times I to the first power. Now, why is this true? It's true because when you multiply two bases together, to simplify that, you would just add the exponents, 82 plus 1, to give you 83. So it's legal to decompose I to the 83rd power in this fashion. Okay, the good news is that the first factor is I to an even power, which is what we were going for. Now that we have I to an even power in the front times I to the first, we can rewrite I to the even power as something that has a factor of 2 in it. So we'll rewrite it as I to the 2 times 41 power times I. And then we'll bring the 41 outside the parenthesis. We'll have I squared, parenthesis, to the 41 power times I. The reason it's legal to write it as I squared to the 41 power is because when you have a power raised to a power, you multiply the exponents together. And 2 times 41 is 82. Okay, cool. What we've actually done in all of this is that we've isolated I squared. Now we can replace it with negative 1. Okay, so let us continue. Replace the I squared in parentheses with negative 1. So we have negative 1 raised to the 41 power, and don't forget the factor times I. Now replace negative 1 to the odd power, 41, by negative 1. Because of the reason I stated at the beginning of this problem. Negative 1 raised to an odd power is negative 1. So we have negative 1 in parentheses times the I at the back. All right, and once again, that's because 41 is an odd power. And our final answer when we multiply by negative 1 is negative I. Okay, don't get dizzy. The main thing we were doing is we wanted to have I to an even power. We didn't start with I to an even power, so we had to factor I to the first power out. So a portion would be I to the even power. Once we were there, we worked on isolating I squared and replacing it with a negative 1, and then we remembered if you have a negative base raised to an even power, you get a positive answer. Negative base raised to an odd power gives you a negative answer. Now I want you to try this next problem on your own. I to the negative 46 power. I want you to pause the video, work on this problem, and when you think you've got it, restart the video and compare your answer to mine. Okay, for this problem, the first thing I want to do is get rid of the negative exponent. So I rewrite it as 1 over I to the positive 46 power, and then I concentrate on the denominator. Remember, because I have an even power, I don't have to pull that trick that I pulled at the beginning in part A. All I need to do here is rewrite I to this even number, 46 power, as I squared raised to some power. It's going to be I squared raised to the 23rd. Why? Because 2 times 23 is 46. And now, in the parentheses, I'm going to replace I squared with negative 1. And don't forget the 23rd power. So now in the denominator, I have a negative base raised to an odd power. What does that mean? Negative base raised to an odd power is a negative answer. So this is negative 1. 1 over negative 1 is negative 1.